Hello, everybody. Ron Wildman here on Middle Georgia Spotlight. I could say I'm filling in for former Macon Mayor Jack Ellis, but he's right across the table from me. We're going to talk about Veterans Day coming up on November 11th, and also the big celebration here in Macon on November the 7th this year. We'll have more on that later on. Herbert Dennard's with former Mayor Ellis. And Mayor, what do you recall about your time in the service?
Well, when I entered the Army, Ron, I didn't know too much about the Vietnam War, which was 1963. The war wasn't in the headlines. And I recall being in Europe for my first 3 years of service and kind of divorced from the war. And all of a sudden I got ordered me to come to join the 101st Airborne Division in 1967 and further shipment to Vietnam. And that's when it really dawned on me, hey, there's a real war going on here.
I hope you realize that.
Yes, exactly. And of course, left Germany, had been in France, left France with the German, in Germany, Fort Campbell, joined with the 101st, and then we got there just in time for Tet of 68, so that's why the big rush was getting us there.
Well, Herbert Dennard, did you know what was going on before you got there?
I joined the Marines back in 1963 also, and went to Hawaii, and from Hawaii, 1965, while they was marching in Alabama, Bloody Sunday, they called it, with Jose Williams and John Lewis. At the same time, I was leaving, going to Vietnam. Mm. I was talking to my father, and he said, I think you're going the wrong direction. Because all of this was going on, but we landed in Vietnam in about April 1965.
How long were you over there?
6 months. Because you only spend so much time away from the continental United States. And so I was there. I got there about April, and I left in coming back home in January.
You were wounded?
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
Shrapnel.
Uh-huh. So you come back home?
Yes.
How about?
No, I didn't come back home. Then it was a minor wound.
Oh, minor wound, yeah.
Right.
Well, Mayor, you were kind of shot up a bit, weren't you?
Well, I was, but when I think about it, Ron, and all the young men that I saw getting on those body bags, it was minor compared to that. But at the time, yeah, when you get a slug in you, or when you get a piece of hot shrapnel, as Herbert can attest, in your backside, you know you've been wounded. So yes, but before we get into that, I want to thank the Cherry Blossom Festival and even the mayor, whoever came up with the idea to have this Veterans Day activity, which you will be talking about later on. I say that because, when I returned to Macon, we had a Vietnam veteran sitting in the mayor's office, Lee Robinson. And after him, we had another veteran, Tommy Olmsted. After him, we had Dave Carter, a Korean War veteran. We had another Vietnam War veteran, Jim Marshall. I followed him as a Vietnam veteran. Another Vietnam veteran followed me, and we have a non-veteran who put together a Veterans Day parade.
It usually happens that way.
Yeah.
Those of us who weren't in really appreciate what guys like you did for us and the millions of others. Yeah. And Herbert, what are you looking forward to on that November 7th parade? What do you plan to see?
I really hadn't thought about it a lot. And it's great to have a parade and all of that, but this war that I served in was a mistake. And a lot of good young men died over there. It was a colossal mistake. When I think of the young people that I served that should be alive now, how many died over there, Jack?
Almost 70,000 now, they're saying.
And I evolved to where I am now. When I look at the Vietnamese people that was there, I remember we had a search and destroy operation. And we went into this village and we found an old rifle there. And so the policy was you burn the village down because these are people are keep having Viet Cong people there, and so we burnt the entire village down. I saw old women and children crying as that village was burnt down, and that is a terrible situation. We was there, and we was very destructive to the people there that because of the Bay of Tompkins, and that wasn't all it was supposed to be. I mean, we was there, and we just like it's 50,000, 70,000. How many Vietnamese do you think was killed, Jack?
Oh, you can't even. I don't even think no one can have a true number.
A lot more.
A lot more, no question about it.
And we was in their country.
Yeah.
And we was there how many years? 20 years?
Well, not quite. I think the most recent war was the longest one, 20 years, but it was
about
close to it.
Herbert, we're celebrating our people. You, Mayor Ellis, who went over there doing your best at the time under those conditions. And that's what I want to make this program.
I understand.
I understand what you're saying too, because we've had some more recent failings closer to
It's not
Yeah.
so
This
much
year.
it's
Yeah,
not so-
I think the young men and women who served in Afghanistan could have the same attitude if they elected to. But one thing different about the cohort served in Vietnam and these, and it did my heart good when I was in the airport, any place when a group of soldiers would come through and at the height of the Iraq War and Afghanistan, and how people would stand and applaud for them in the airports. Whereas, as opposed to when we came back, they asked us to take off our uniform.
And you had to.
Yeah, I got back to San Francisco and took off my uniform and put on civilian clothes before I went into the city. So it was a different time, and the country was in turmoil. We had racial strife, we had anti-war, so it was a different time. But I am glad that now that the Cherry Blossom Festival, the mayor, whomever, paying some type of gratitude, saying you hear it all the time, thank you for your service, and you hear it a lot. But if you didn't, and some people take it for granted, I don't take it for granted. If someone takes time to say that to me, I tell them, thank you, you're welcome. Or whatever.
Herbert mentioned Bloody Sunday and the civil rights movement at that time. You all went over there and fought and put your lives on the line, but you came back to a not good situation in the U.S.
Especially Herbert Dennard, he came back to Macon and could not join the YMCA.
Right.
I'll let him talk to you about that.
That was just one of many things.
One of many.
One of many things. You serve your country, you come back, and we go down to join the YMCA. Bert Bivens, myself, Jesse Williams, several others. It was a total of 10, 11. And I had a membership card to the YMCA that I had from Buffalo, New York. And the guy, MacArthur, said, this is for members only. I proudly pulled up my membership, laid it on the
Not
thing.
Buffalo members, though.
No, it says on the thing, this YMCA is good
Young
for-
Men Christian
They say
Association.
this card is good anywhere there's a YMCA. You might have to pay a $2 or $3. At that time it was a $2 or $3 fee to use it for that day, but it's good for everybody.
But now, all these years later, have things changed enough to satisfy your idea of what it should be like here?
I think it's worse.
Oh my.
I mean, when you think of,
We're not going to get out of this hole with them, are we?
Well,
I evolved over the years, but I'm telling you, it is not. Some things are still the same. What was then is still now.
well, what's different though, Herbert, and I think you and I would both agree, the Veterans Administration itself is offering care
Absolutely.
to much better now.
Better. That part is better.
The hospitals, the benefits in terms of turnaround for benefits. Now they're turning around for a compensation, disability, 90 days. Before you could, it would take you 2 or 3 years, and the red tape was just insurmountable. A lot of people would give up. Now, wherever it started, whether it was with Trump, whether it was with Obama, but someone hit a pressure point in the VA, and they are really provided.
They respond well.
They're responding.
That's
They
great.
respond
That's
very
wonderful.
well.
To
They
veterans.
respond.
Well, another thing, you're a former mayor. You got elected. You were elected
Yes.
positions. Now, that didn't happen before then, did
Well,
it?
that happened as a result of what Herbert was saying in 1965. Of course, I was in Europe and he was on his way to Vietnam, and what happened on that Edmund Pettus Bridge. So we have to give credit to those people, John Lewis, Rosa Parks, and all the others who marched and fought for the right to vote. So I understand whose shoulders I stand, but you're absolutely right. Things are much different now in a positive way. We still have work to do, no question about it. If you look at how these laws that were passed as a result of the 2020 election, that we still are a very divided country. And I think that's what, and it shouldn't be that way when it comes to a veteran, when it comes to a soldier, because I went to Vietnam twice. One time Johnson sent me in 1967, I went back in 1970, and a Republican, Richard Nixon, sent me. So I was sent by a Republican and a Democrat, and it didn't matter because once you got there, the thing was about staying alive, keeping the young men that were under my supervision alive and doing the duty, what the mission was, and forgetting about the politics.
Let me mention something else. When I was there, something happened that I still remember. We was hit in Vietnam by, we thought it was we was hit in Vietnam, and we took a hill. And some of the people that was killed when we took the hill, some of the Vietnamese was 14 and 15-year-old children that was sent up there by their whoever to defend this hill. And so some of the people that was killed then was young Vietnamese people. Yeah. And the same thing is going on now. That's part of war.
Well, as General Sherman said so many years ago, war is hell,
War is hell.
and it's sure, you could prove it.
Yeah. We were
But
conflicted.
then we was hit by friendly fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The helicopters got mixed up.
Yeah.
Thought we was the enemy. 3 men was killed on that day.
You know, you all remember Rex Elder, the airport
Yes.
manager, and
Oh,
a
yeah.
very good friend of all of us. He was a machine gunner with General Patton. And so I asked him, I said, what's it like, Rex? I interviewed him a long 20-minute piece for his family before he passed away. He says, you don't know what's going on. Things are happening everywhere. He said, you don't know if you're going to get hit in behind by your own people, or I mean, it's just chaos.
Yeah, we on another operation, an amphibious landing, we landed on an island, and I'm in this big thing like a tank that comes out of the water. And I'm 19 years old. I'm saying to myself, how the hell did I get in this situation? You can't say you're sick. You can't back out of it. When that door opened, you're running out and they're shooting at you.
That's what that's what Marines do. They use different tactics. That's why we had to go in the caisson. The 101st went in the caisson and picked them up. But Ron, I know you're out of time, but I want to thank you for at least shining some light, if you will, pardon the pun, the spotlight on veterans and this Veterans Day program.
Well, thank you all. Herbert, thank you.
I appreciate
Has
it,
anybody thanked you 3 or 4 times in a row like I'm doing?
Thank you, Ron. And I
Thank you,
appreciate
Mayor
it.
Ellis.
And I know
Love
it
both
didn't
of
go
you.
like you wanted to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. We'll be right back with more on the big celebration coming up for Veterans Day here in Macon, Georgia, USA. Let's talk now to a member of the Cherry Blossom Festival organization, Arah Adams, in charge of marketing and events.
Yes, sir.
And here, almost winter, and we're talking about Cherry Blossom Festival. How are you getting in the news here?
So Mayor Miller approached the Cherry Blossom Festival regarding having a Veterans Day celebration, and he came to the right people because we have blossoms and bacon next Sunday.
That's a big project.
It is.
Now, you all have your own parade each year you set up.
Correct.
So is it anything similar to the Cherry Blossom Parade as far as the nuts and bolts of it?
Yes, so the foundation of it is very similar, but of course we're honoring hometown heroes, so we're changing from everything pink to everything red, white, and blue.
What type what do you call it, events that you have in the parade?
So as far as like the units, we
Yeah,
have
units. That's the word I was trying to come up with.
we have very, very different units. Of course, from Cherry Blossom, you're used to seeing, just local organizations around the city that are promoting themselves. However, for this one, we have different veteran groups. We have floats that will honor each branch of the military. And then we have like the Salvation Army, United Way. We still have the local organizations participating, but it's a lot more tailored to veterans and veteran groups.
Will there be any veterans in the parade?
There will be. So we are having veterans ride along so the Cherry Blossom Festival actually is hosting a couple of the floats. And so the veterans will be amongst those floats.
Now, the time the parade will begin on November 7th.
Correct, at 3 p.m. in downtown Macon.
And what's the route going to be?
So we'll begin on Cherry Street and go up to 1st Street and then come back down Mulberry.
And then you'll make your way to Luther Williams Stadium, historic
Yes.
Luther Williams Stadium, and the home of the Macon Bacon.
The home of the Macon
What will
Bacon.
happen there now?
So there we have the celebration, which it begins at 4:00 p.m. And we'll have various food trucks, various beer tastings, and then at 6:30 we have a free concert by country star Rodney Atkins, And then 7:30 we will end with fireworks.
He'll be a good draw. He's good.
Yes.
Now, you wanted folks to kind of register or something so they could go to the concert. What was the reason
Yes.
of that? And then what do they have to do?
Yes, so you would still go to cherryblossom.festival.com and you would pre-register. The only reason we really ask for pre-registration is just so that we make sure we're maintaining the crowd and the capacity at the stadium.
Now, what's it been like putting this together? Do you all get together or have a mock parade or something? Or?
No, so as far as the parade, we did get together earlier this week and we draw out our note cards with each unit's name and we line them up on the table and that's the way it'll flow.
How many do you think you'll have?
We have about 60.
60.
So it's a decent sized parade, yes.
Is there any bands in it or?
We don't have any bands from the high schools just yet, so we're still working to see if we can get
Still
them
work in
but
progress.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Nothing like a deadline to
That's right.
yeah. The Cherry Blossom Festival has given Macon an identity,
Yes.
and we lost it last year. That was a disappointment
Year
for
before
you.
last. Well, last year.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm planning for 2022, so my dates
Oh,
are
yeah.
all.
And that was a big letdown in the organization, wasn't it?
It was, yes, for sure.
Because it was pretty much planned
Oh, yes,
and ready to go.
yes.
And of course, a lot of the vendors look forward to these festivals for their livelihood.
Correct.
But nobody really wanted to do it.
That's right.
Except maybe Stacy, the director, executive director. And but this year was a different situation. Nothing was going on in Georgia. The Braves weren't playing yet. The capacity crowds. Georgia football was just nothing hardly. And yet the Cherry Blossom Festival chose to move ahead with the festival full blown. Had the governor down. He was happy to see that too because nothing was happening in the state that way. Are you proud of that?
We are very proud. It was such a success. So we are very, very proud of the outcome.
How did
from
that turn out as far as crowds and everything?
Oh, it went very smooth. I mean, of course, we follow all the COVID protocols that we put into place prior to the festival to be during the festival, but overall, it was such a success.
You had a lot of people that didn't want you to do it either.
Yes, now, yes.
But after it was said and done, I understand exhaustive checks were made with the hospitals and various other agencies that it did not contribute to COVID.
That's correct.
Is that the truth?
That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, what are we looking forward to this coming year? Do you have any idea what we're going to do in March this year?
Well, it is the 40th anniversary of the Cherry Blossom Festival, so we are planning for bigger and better.
In what way? Just roughly.
Just the grand scheme.
Don't give me
Just-
away your secrets.
I was going to say, I've got to come back and tell you about that in March now. But as far as like the ball, all of the events down at the park, we just plan for a grand scheme of things to kind of celebrate for the 40th year.
Tradition's great with these things because your crowd follows
Correct.
each year. You get a lot of participation in
Yes.
these events.
Yes.
Now, getting back to the veterans thing, what was the toughest thing about putting this together in your mind? Because I know you've put things together before, but this is different from Macon.
Well, honestly, it was rather easy. We were working with Macon Bacon, Visit Macon, and Macon Bib. And I mean, everyone has contributed very evenly, so it's worked out pretty easily.
You know, tell me about the bacon. What was their part in it, and how did they help you?
Well, of course, we're using their home base for the celebration. So just going in logistically with them on planning the concert and things there. So, and they're the ones who got the beer, the breweries, the local breweries, they're bringing them in, we're bringing in the food trucks. So, I mean, like I said, we've contributed pretty easily amongst each group that's helping out.
You've been working with the Making Bacon folks. That's quite a lively organization, isn't it?
It is. They're rather
They're
fun to work with.
forward thinking.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, prior to the 7th, what are some of the things you have to do before you get it all together?
Well, we have to go down for the parade route. I'll ride the route. Of course, Macon-Bibb County Sheriff's Office, they'll go down and block off the roads. The day prior to the parade, I do go where the units will line up. I go and spray paint their numbers on the ground so they'll know where to go upon arrival.
And where will they be?
They'll be on 5th Street from the terminal station down past Pine.
And so they hit Cherry Street at the usual spot in front of Terminal Station?
Correct.
And come up to
1st Street.
1st Street, yeah. And then work their way down Mulberry back
Right down
to
Mulberry.
the end of the parade?
Correct.
Or are they going all the way to the ballpark? You
No.
know?
That would have been nice, though.
Yeah,
Didn't think
that's
about
an
that.
idea. If you can get them walk another
I
mile or
was
so.
going to say, that's quite a ways.
Yeah. How does Macon react to these cherry blossom events? And of course, we don't know about this one, but I'm sure this is a military town. We had Mayor Ellis on just before you, and he couldn't believe that all these former mayors we had were all military men, and they didn't have a military parade in town. But you know, we have Robbins Air Force Base out there.
Correct.
I mean, this is a Fort Macon.
So, I mean, the response for the Veterans Day celebration has been amazing. As I mentioned, we have almost 60 units in the parade, and we're getting calls as if we're during festival season for people wanting to know more about the parade, more about the celebration at the ballpark. So the response has been outstanding so far.
And you have some publicity out there. The TV station's helping?
Yes, so we have 41 WMGT. They're our media sponsor, and as well as WDEN. So.
What are some of the other folks helping you out?
Well, the entire celebration is presented by Cox Communications. So, but other than that, as far as the Cherry Blossom, Macon Bacon, Visit Macon, and Macon-Bibb County, we are pretty much we're the ones who meet and put on the show.
And some of these units, how did you get, and did they call you, or did you have to go out and shake the woods to get some things? Or
Honestly, no. Once we started getting the promotions rolling, we got the applications coming through. So,
how do you feel about doing a veterans event? I mean, just interviewing you about it makes me feel good, you know, that we're doing this.
Yeah,
and
I'm
making-
very excited for it. Like Mayor Miller said, you know, we have, and like you mentioned, we have Robbins Air Force Base. There's so many veterans that live in Macon and Middle Georgia. So I'm very excited to produce this event.
This is a great place where they retire too. They love it here. If their last assignment was at Robbins, or if it was a few years ago, they remember what it was like in this
To live
area.
here, correct.
And they enjoy it. Did you enjoy putting this together?
I did.
In what way?
I did. Well, the parade is where I'm set for that. So it's just exciting working with the different organizations and, you know, seeing that my satisfaction comes from the parade, seeing the people come out and having a successful parade. So
You saw the segment with Herbert Dennard and
Yes.
former Mayor Ellis.
yes, sir.
What did you get out of that? Listening to those old warriors talk.
Well, I was actually excited. My grandfather is actually a veteran as well, so I love listening to those stories about, you know, the different wars and the different times they served. So I enjoy it. I can sit and listen all day.
That's great. My father was a radio operator on a B-17 bomber
Oh, wow.
in World War II. And 23 years old, these guys. And your grandfather was probably about the same age when he was in. And, well, Herbert was 19.
I know, he's 19,
I
that's
guess
young.
If Mary Ellis is younger than Herbert, he might have been 18. But to hear these guys and what they went through, I mean, it makes you want to really participate in something
Yes.
like this. and you're finding that out.
Yes.
Okay, if anybody needs information or anything about the parade and the events coming up, what do they need to do? Can they contact you?
Yes, they can contact me directly or just call the Cherry Blossom Festival headquarters, and if we aren't at the office, we will respond accordingly.
Well, that's great. That's November 7th.
November 7th.
7th. I want to thank you for being with us on
Thank
the
you for
program
having
and
me.
spreading the word, and I know it's going to be a big success.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Arah Adams, and thank you for joining us on our Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm Ron Wildman here at Mercer University for former Mayor Jack Ellis, who's on the sidelines today. Thank you.